Severe storms and extreme heat are inbound as Australia faces a rough ride up to the new year. Well, weather-wise, it is going to be a very busy end to 2023. We've got a lot to get through in this video, so make sure you stick around to the end. We're going to be covering temperature, rainfall, storms, everything. December 29th forecast update brought to you by Force 13 Australia. If you do have any feedback or a weather report from your location, please do leave it in the comments down below, and subscribing would help out greatly as well. So a lot of information here. We're going to have very hot conditions across the west of Australia and some severe storms across the east. We're going to take a look at the national picture right now for the next day or two. You can see extreme heat expected to develop across parts of Western Australia, with daytime maxima up to 50 or 51 degrees Celsius in some locations. Records could be broken. Storms as well for parts of Western Australia, especially up in the Kimberley and parts of the Goldfields, and severe storms yet again for the Gold Coast, Brisbane up towards Rockhampton and Mackay. It is going to be a very rough end to 2023 there, with a night of severe storms expected to develop from tonight and into tomorrow. We could be seeing large hailstones, heavy rainfall, destructive winds, and maybe even the chance of more tornadoes, which is a very scary prospect indeed. Across to New Zealand, some showery conditions, but nothing out of the ordinary down there. I'm going to start off light with some temperature forecasts across the nation. So it's just going to be hot across the north. It's very seasonal for this time of the year to get this hot weather. To note, it will be up to 50 degrees Celsius across Marble Bar and parts of Western Australia, so very, very hot conditions up there. Slowing it right down for New Year's Day. This is your New Year's Day forecast, by the way. Very warm conditions across a lot of the country. Daytime maxima will be above 30 degrees Celsius for parts of the country. Perth will be keeping it cool with 25 degrees Celsius, and Melbourne as well up to 25 degrees Celsius, so hot there, and mild across Sydney and Brisbane with a chance of storms. Playing it through for the rest of the week, the first week of 2024, it will be hot across our red centre. Birdsville could be seeing a maximum of 48 degrees Celsius on the 4th of January before this heat moves across to the east of Queensland. We're going to be seeing some hot days across the Great Dividing Range, and this heat could also extend down towards Perth and parts of the lower west divisions in Western Australia. Rainfall for the nation, you can see, keeping track of the time down below, the next 2 days are going to be very rough across southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales. Thankfully, the rain should steer clear for New Year's fireworks displays across Sydney, maybe a drop or two across the 1st of January. There will also be a lot of thunderstorms across the central regions of New South Wales, parts of Victoria, and it gets really stormy and wild across the 3rd and the 4th of January. We could be seeing widespread severe thunderstorms across Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, and these storms could extend into the Northern Territory. I would be expecting a scenario similar to Boxing Day, where we had this dramatic line of severe thunderstorms move across the nation. Christmas Day and Boxing Day could be happening again in early 2024. We're going to watch this forecast very closely. Zooming into southeast Queensland to get a good idea of the picture here, you can see the reds and the blacks, very intense thunderstorms, pausing it as the clock ticks to midnight. For 2024, you can see it should be clear across the metro areas, across Sydney and Brisbane, but there will be storms offshore, and it looks like a low pressure system as well materializes itself just offshore from Brisbane, and this will hopefully keep the stormy conditions offshore for the first couple of days of 2024, but after that we're going to see an inland trough develop and maybe a low pressure system across New South Wales, and this will just drive a lot of rainfall inland in the form of severe thunderstorms. We could be seeing locations pick up to 200 millimeters of rain from these severe storms. We're going to have to watch this situation very closely. Now, I just want to bring up, to end off the forecast model part of the video, the extreme heat across Western Australia. Daytime maxima to 50 and 51 degrees Celsius north of Marble Bar and outside of South Hedland and Port Hedland. Now, it's conditions that they are used to up there, but I just want to hammer home how hot this actually is. It is severe heat, so make sure you are prepared for heatwave conditions, because records could fall. Here's a look at some beautiful thunderstorms that fired up in the Kimberley region. Just basically the news on the satellite imagery for the past couple of days. There's been absolutely nothing to speak of in terms of severe thunderstorms nationwide for the past couple of days, but don't get used to it. We're going to jump over to the forecast right now, and I'll show you exactly what's coming in the next 10 minutes. So over on the forecast models at windy.com, you can see a couple of storms and a bit of rain across central New South Wales at this time, around Cobar, Tamworth, Dubbo, that sort of area, and a nice little thunderstorm firing in the Great Dividing Range in Queensland. But apart from that, it's pretty clear nationwide, except for these thunderstorms up in the Northern Territory and the Kimberley. These are pulse thunderstorms, very normal for this time of the year. There's nothing crazy going on right now. However, what we're watching out for is the risk of severe and locally intense thunderstorms tomorrow tomorrow across quite a decent part of the eastern part of the nation. You can also see some thunderstorms and rain down in Perth. Telling you what, that rain would be lovely. We can't wait for a bit of rain down there. But the main story is definitely these thunderstorms across south to east Queensland. We're looking at the ECMWF forecast, but there are a lot of forecast models suggesting that we're going to get a line of severe and locally intense thunderstorms from Saturday afternoon, developing at around 12 p.m. local time, so midday local time, or 1 p.m. in New South Wales. But you can see these are heavy thunderstorms with quite a substantial amount of rain, up to 25 millimetres per hour, and they will blow through the Brisbane metro area, getting very intense actually as they sweep off the Great Dividing Range around Mount Tamborine, that sort of area. And we could be seeing rainfall totals up to 50 millimetres per hour around the Brisbane metro. Now, what this is telling me is that we're seeing organised supercell thunderstorms moving through the area, which will bring the risk of destructive winds, heavy and locally intense rainfall, and possibly large or even giant hailstones in certain locations. So it's a very scary forecast indeed, and it's similar to what we saw a couple of nights ago with this line of intense thunderstorms that brought tornadoes across Mount Tamborine, that sort of area. They got blown to smithereens, which is very, very sad to see. And sadly, 12 people have lost their lives from these storm systems so far. So it's just really tragic. Make sure you are prepared for these storm systems, and if you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, just don't take any chances. It's much better to be inside enjoying the light show from an interior part of your house than driving around in it, because these storms are very dangerous, and these storms are unlike what we see in Australia for summer. These are very intense thunderstorms, which is quite scary indeed. Now, a sign of a severe thunderstorm approaching is going to be a sudden increase in winds and humidity, and also a sudden drop in temperature associated with the rainfall. So if you feel any of those signs coming at around midday to 2 p.m. local time across Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and even up into the Sunshine Coast as well, these storms will extend up towards Gladstone and Rockhampton. You can tell that there is an intense thunderstorm approaching, and it looks like even in towards the evening, we're going to see a second band of these storms, possibly a squall line approach Brisbane, and that could definitely bring the risk of damaging and locally destructive winds. And it also looks like Sydney isn't going to escape it either, with pulse thunderstorms around the metro area, which could bring the risk of locally heavy and intense rainfall. So we'll be watching out for that closely as well. Thankfully, it looks like as we enter New Year's Eve, the thunderstorms contract from the Brisbane area and they move up towards further up the Queensland coastline. Far out, what a hot day we're expecting across Queensland to round off 2023. Chuandon up to 42 degrees, Longreach 41, very hot conditions up there. But the main story will be these thunderstorms moving up around sort of Rockhampton area. And like I said, heavily locally intense rainfall is indicated by the reds and blacks. If your location is under those, expect some strong thunderstorms to blow through. And that's basically all I can say on these storm systems, because they are strong and they will be intense, and they could deliver some damaging conditions, that's for sure, to your location. Now, rainfall accumulation over the next 3 days remains high, but it's not throwing up any major alarm bells in terms of flash flooding. The Bureau of Meteorology does have a minor to moderate flood watch already out for rivers between Rockhampton down towards the New South Wales-Queensland border. And that's a very valid warning considering how much rainfall is expected. There will be locations that pick up to 100 millimetres of rain from these storm systems over the next 3 days. In fact, the Access G3, so the Bureau of Meteorology's own forecast model, expecting up to 250 or 300 millimetres in locations around Emerald, and across to the coastline around Rockhampton, then down towards Gympie and Mount Perry, that sort of area. Very heavy rainfall totals indeed, and if these do materialise, we will be seeing the risk of moderate flooding, because that is a lot of rainfall over the next 3 days. And over the next 10 days, you'll be seeing locations pick up to close to 400 millimetres from this thunderstorm system that we're expecting towards the end of the first week of 2024. So as we start to get into sort of Friday and Saturday of 2024, Friday the 5th and Saturday the 6th, you're going to see these thunderstorms form again from a low pressure system across New South Wales, and they will blow through central Queensland, and they could be impacting communities basically anywhere between Mount Isa down to inland New South Wales and right across the coastline. So they're going to be very widespread, but it's a long way out. It's still a couple of days, at least 7 or 8 days, a week or so. So we'll watch this forecast develop, but I can't be making any comments on it because there is still a lot of uncertainty associated with this forecast, that's for sure. The good news is no cyclones on the forecast for the next 10 days. The cyclone activity has cleared for at least the short term. If I go right out to the end of the forecast run, we see a tropical low start to develop around the Cocos Keeling Islands off the coast of Indonesia. This is very, very out to sea though, and it's probably not going to become a long-term Australian threat, but we will be watching the area because all cyclone activity is interesting cyclone activity. But I'm looking at the amount of thunderstorm activity across Australia towards the end of the first week of 2024, like Sunday the 7th, and it's a concerning amount of thunderstorm activity. It means that the monsoon is going to be peaking at this time, and the monsoon trough could definitely be throwing a couple of storms and low pressure systems that form cyclones our way. And look, there's even one here in the Solomon Sea that I've missed. So a lot of storm activity could be developing around Australia in towards the second week of 2024. Which we're going to have to watch very, very closely, because once again, the monsoon, it's in full swing and it could definitely be throwing cyclones at us at all times. So we'll be watching that very closely. Nationwide though, over the next 10 days, it's going to be very wet, especially across the centre of Australia, with a month's worth of rainfall for some locations. It is their wet season, but from thunderstorms that look to be very widespread, we could be seeing some flooding in central Australia as well, and road closures as well. So if you are a truckie watching this video, beware, because rivers will definitely be flooding across the next sort of 10 days. We could be seeing some minor flooding in locations that could lead to road closures. Make sure you are staying on top of main roads and those sort of websites to know what flooding is impacting your area. But elsewhere around the nation, it's looking quiet. Tasmania quiet. The west of Western Australia, very, very boring indeed. Perth weather has been so boring since about September. We haven't had a drop of rain since then, sadly. New Zealand could be getting some substantial rainfall from these low pressure systems. In fact, there are locations that could pick up a substantial amount of rainfall as the low pressure system and a cold front moves through in the next sort of 5 days, but nothing too crazy over there. And also throughout the South Pacific, there will be locations that pick up tropical amounts of rainfall, 400 millimeters in locations over the next 10 days. Same with Papua New Guinea. Nothing out of the ordinary, but the main focus definitely is these thunderstorms across parts of southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales. Now, let's just take a quick look at what the forecast conditions are for the New Year's Eve fireworks, because I know a lot of the viewers are from Sydney and will be interested in hearing what to prepare for the New Year's Eve fireworks. So we're looking at pleasant conditions at around 20-21 degrees Celsius, winds also out of the east at around 8 to 10 knots, gusting to 20 knots. You might need a light jacket to keep warm because conditions could be a little bit breezy, but I imagine in such a huge crowd that wouldn't matter too much. But overall, quite a pleasant night expected, and I believe cloud cover will be at a minimum, so it's going to be a very nice night for fireworks. Elsewhere around the nation, hot for Perth, hot for Melbourne especially, actually, throughout the day. I think they're getting up to 29 degrees Celsius for New Year's Day, so we'll be New Year's Eve, we're going to be looking out for hot conditions down there. Brisbane, mild, same with Tasmania, fairly mild as well, and across the north, stock standard conditions, and hopefully the heat across the north of Western Australia does ease up a little bit, because we're expecting some very, very hot conditions in our mining communities. I believe some locations expecting to pull a daytime maxima of 50 degrees Celsius in some locations. In fact, I'll try and find the cursor spot for that, because that was a little bit of a surprise when I was looking at the forecast in preparation for this video. There will be locations that pick up some very, very hot conditions from what looks to be a low pressure system developing just off the coast. You can see there, just outside of Karratha around Roebourne, very, very hot weather. Near record temperatures, so if a weather station does pick up more than 50.5, I believe that'll be the hottest January day for Western Australia on record. Just a bit of a fun fact, because this is conditions that the nation is used to, or at least Western Australia is used to, probably not the nation as a whole. But anyway, that basically does it for this forecast update. I'm sorry that I've taken such a huge break. I've been on holiday and I haven't had the chance to make videos properly for the past 7 days, but I'm back now and we'll be making updates consistently. Tell me what you want to see in the comment section down below. Leave me some feedback. Leave a like on the video as well. We're closing in on 8,000 subscribers, so all support is welcome. But that's it from me, and I'll catch you all in the next storm.
Thank you for watching our content this update. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to get more updates covering all things weather and geophysics impacting Australia and the Oceania region. Subscribe to our other channels for more content from across the network, and be sure to check out our website where you can find free access to floater and radar imagery and articles on everything weather and much more. If you wish to support us directly, you can purchase some of our merchandise. We have a wide variety of clothing and homeware, Or you could become an Ultimate fan, which is the best way to directly support us, granting you some sweet perks and offers, including features in our custom storm animations, live streams, and much more.